Hey guys, so welcome back on another episode of Arise Insights. And as you already know, that this is a safe space where we get to talk about different topics, more especially the ones that really do affect our faith journey and also our rising up. So today I've got three questions with me, which is kind of a good thing because I think I'm loving the feedback that you guys are giving. So without taking much time, let's go straight into the questions. So question number one: how do I guard my peace without isolating myself from people? So I think I get that. I think this question came because of what we talked about last time. We were talking about how you need to guard your peace, how you need to be so intentional about, protecting everything that contributes to the peace that you're experiencing, and also just fighting for that peace in terms of, intentionally just relating with God on a personal level. Because if you don't nurture that relationship and you happen to drift away, it will be hard just to maintain what was flowing from that space and from that source, of which we know that God is not just a source of peace, He is peace Himself. So how do you guard your peace without isolating yourself from people? I get it that I think one of the things that you can practically do in as far as protecting or guarding your peace is creating boundaries. So I think this question was coming from that space, if I create these walls around, let's say, my life, my faith, my projects, my goals, that will kind of make me push people away, and in so doing, I might end up alone. But I think what you need to understand is that building boundaries does not mean you need to isolate yourself. Yes, I get it that with building boundaries, there are times that you come to a place where you need to let go of people that they are not draining your peace away, or they're not really contributing to you just protecting that peace. But you also need to understand that we were created for a connection, both ways, connecting with people and also connecting with God. And if you need to build walls around yourself, you just need to build it, I think, with wisdom, because there is a difference. It's different just building walls because you just want to be all alone, as in all by yourself. I mean, you need people around. You need people to help you. You need people to encourage you. You need people to challenge you. You need people to, you just need to relate with people day in and day out. But at the same time, if you do it with wisdom, I believe that you can come to a place where you will understand that I'm not just building walls to keep myself in and the world out, but I'm building these walls because at some point in time I need to train or teach people how they can treat me. So if you need to, let people go, that doesn't mean literally everyone will go. No, you will let go of some people, but others, they'll still be in. So the goal here is not just to build walls, but the goal is to build it with wisdom. So that will also tell you that with wisdom, you will also know how to let what people say not to get to you to a point that you just take influence from everyone else. No, you should also realize that not every argument needs your response. You should also realize that even Jesus knew when to speak and when to keep quiet in terms of, conversing with people. Because there are times that you cannot really let go of people. They can still be in your inner circle, but you cannot let what they say or their suggestions and opinion affect you in a manner that you will not let your walls down, and that will affect the peace that you've been experiencing. So at the end of the day, you realize that a healthy peace is stability, not isolating yourself from people. I'll repeat myself. Healthy peace is stability and not isolating yourself from people. This is because even the most people that can claim that they have mastered how to isolate themselves from people, if you get to have a conversation with them, you will learn that actually they're the most people who they lack peace. Like they haven't experienced peace to its fullness just because they thought if they isolate themselves from people, then that means they are guarding their peace or they're protecting their peace. So I hope you get it, that it's possible to guard your peace. It's possible to build boundaries and let people know of those boundaries without really isolating everyone. No. So question number 2, can unforgiveness make a person restless? Can unforgiveness make a person restless? So I believe you asked this question because of what I think we talked about this other time when we were talking about how restlessness has two faces. The first one, which is also positive in nature, is the kind that, when God pushes you to do something, but then you have your excuses and your reasons not to do it. So He kind of has His way of just making you realize that it's high time you step in, it's high time you jump in. But then the other kind, it's the type that comes or you experience it due to misalignment, like you misalign yourself with the agenda of God or God Himself. So with unforgiveness, let's talk about this. Let's talk about it this way. Unforgiveness has this thing of tying you up to wounds way after that experience has happened. Like, even if that thing happened to you last year, you can still be thinking or replaying the whole episode in your head, but not in a manner that you want to learn lessons or carve lessons out of that experiences, but because you're still hurting. And part of that reason might be that, and please don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm trying to diminish or belittle whatever experiences that you had, or talk less or little about your pain. But the thing is, one of the reasons that we keep rehearsing or repeating the episodes in our head is because somehow we are still craving that we get our questions answered, why that thing happened, why we are being treated that way. Sometimes maybe we are hoping that we will get an apology from that person, but at the end of the day we need to realize that forgiving someone has nothing to do with whether we get our questions answered, whether we get the apology, or whether we get just an explanation of why things had to happen that way. But you also need to understand that forgiving someone actually flees you more than it does with whoever hurt you. So if you don't get to release that person from you, trust me, they are living rent-free in your head. And with that, I think it builds resentment, it builds bitterness, which in itself is it's a catalyst of what negative restlessness is all about. So with that kind of bitterness, with that kind of anger, with that kind of resentment, you end up doing things that you cannot do them if you are okay with just forgiving them. You can end up, acting in a certain way or saying things that on a normal day you wouldn't say them. So this is exactly what the negative restlessness does. How in Isaiah it's being referred to as a sea that is always tossing. So that the sea that is always tossing, it brings up dirty things from beneath to the bottom. So you have to understand that what unforgiveness does to your heart is, with that heavy, feelings that you have, the bitterness and the resentment, whatever your heart is full of, trust me, one way or the other, it has to find an expression outside. So if your heart is full of bitterness, trust me, whatever fruits that are going to come out of that, they're not going to be all good. No. So you look at how you are now behaving, you look at how you see the world, you look at how you filter things or how you treat people. You might even think that this is a different person, but yes, it's a different person because you're now, behaving from a place of unforgiveness. So yes, unforgiveness can also be related with restlessness in this way because you have refused to forgive. And I get it that sometimes forgiving a person can take time. I mean, it depends on that issue, or maybe it depends on how deeply you were hurt. But at the end of the day, I hope that it becomes your deepest desire that even if it's hurting every day, you will choose to forgive that person. You choose to forgive those people who hurt you, despite of how bad the situation is. So, yeah, while you might wait for that closure, that apology, that explanation to come, which might take time or might never come, I hope you will understand that peace comes when you stop carrying the pain of yesterday. Because if you don't deal with that pain, it will affect everything about you today and even your tomorrow. So, yes, to answer your question, unforgiveness can make a person restless. Not the positive kind of restlessness, but the negative kind of restlessness. Question number 3, which also happens to be our last question today, it says, what is one lesson that restlessness has taught you about yourself? What is one lesson that restlessness has taught you about yourself? To be honest, I think I've actually had my fair share of experiencing both of the restlessness that we talked about. The positive one, I would say, let's just point out these episodes that you're seeing, or if you have ever, bumped into any writing on a Rise Network blog website. That didn't just happen in a day. Like, I was taught you need to do this, and then next morning I woke up already sure of what I needed to do, or just confident about what I was going to do. No, I battled with this, I battled with it. I had questions like I think everyone else does when they are called for to do what they never thought they were meant to do. You know how you would sometimes admire people do things or congratulate people because they're doing certain things, but then if you don't really think that one day you will find yourself in their shoes, like God maybe can just decide one day, I'm calling you to do this very same thing. So even if he does tell you that, I think I'm calling you to be doing this, you give him options. Like, I think this person can do it better because they have A, B, C, D. This person, I think, can do it better because they know how to do this, or maybe they've been trained to do that. But then, battling it, giving out excuses, in the end, here we are. So if you're there watching these episodes, just know that this was a product of a positive restlessness. Like, after thinking that I wasn't meant to do this, after thinking that I wasn't, maybe fit or qualified to do this, at the end of the day, here I am. So it's not like I have everything figured out. It's not like I have all the questions answered. Like, I'm still learning. I'm still, finding my footing here. But at the end of the day, I picked up the call, and here we are. So that's just one of my experiences in as far as the positive restlessness is concerned. Now, with the negative restlessness. Wow. Not to go into details, but okay, before I think I share my experience, let's take back what happened to Cain. How I've been using him as an example of him experiencing what negative restlessness is all about. So after agreeing that I think I'm gonna do this, whether I have the resources or not, whether I know how to do it the best way that you want it to be done, there was also this time where I had to battle about certain weaknesses that I've been maybe struggling with, like certain addictions that I've been battling with. But then God had to show up in a way that I didn't think made sense then. It's now that I'm looking back and talking about this type of restlessness, and then I think I'm realizing that was God, just showing up. So how we talked about restlessness, exposing certain things that, whether you like it or not, they just need to find expression outside. So some of the things that you don't want them exposed, let's say the weaknesses, the addictions, whatsoever, as you're struggling with that, God does show up the way I think it's written in Genesis 1. I think I've used that example before. How the earth was formless, how the earth was, there was just this darkness, and it was also just in a bad state. And then it goes on to say the Spirit of God, was hovering over the deep of the earth. So that was how God showed up in His, mercy. He had to cover up certain things that He was still working in me. You know how the Spirit can just receive Christ in an instant, but then this soul or even your mind needs time to adjust to what has happened to the Spirit. So in the period where my mind had to be renewed, in a period where I had to experience transformation, He had to show up with, His covering to a point that some of the things that I thought they would pop out without me really realizing that they're coming out because I'm not able to control them, they did not show up. And people would think that I think I am this perfect person, but then I wasn't. I knew that there were things that I was struggling to, just get them done, certain behaviors to get them in line, or certain patterns to just let go of them. But He had to show up with His covering. So in that moment, I think I realized that things that were not meant to be released yet, because they weren't fully, matured, they did not show up. And that was because He was covering me, not because I had mastered the art of maybe pretending in front of people. No. So there is also this thing that I've learned about restlessness, of it revealing things that you trust in. Like whether restlessness reveals good things about you, or whether it reveals things that needs to be worked on, at the end of the day, it reveals really what you trust in. So at the end of the day, you also end up asking yourself, what am I afraid of losing? So let's assume both of these restlessness, either positive or negative. If you are being taught to do something, or if you are afraid to do something because of maybe you have pointed out certain weaknesses, if you end up asking yourself, what am I afraid of losing? That will help you identify whether the kind of restlessness you are experiencing is a misaligned one or a positive restlessness in nature. So restlessness has a way of exposing fear, it has a way of exposing control, it has a way of exposing insecurities, and also things that you are struggling to surrender. So it's more like, I think, a mirror, in a way that at the end of the day you can tell whether or how you need to deal with that kind of restlessness. Because I understand the other one, you still need to go back to God and ask for His help. With the other kind, it requires you to take full responsibilities of what you have been called to do, so that that feeling can just go away. Okay, so I think the last thing that I would really love to highlight about this question is, when you feel a certain type of restlessness, you shouldn't rush to dismiss it or to get rid of it, but maybe just sit around with it and try to find out what it is that it is revealing. Because if you ignore it and then you end up not understanding what it was trying to reveal, sometimes you cannot get help even from God Himself, because you have failed to maybe name certain situations or name certain things that needs to be worked on. You know how they say that what can't be named cannot be healed, or what you can't accept exists. That means somewhere maybe you're just trying to ignore that the problem exists. So this is not to say that you need to be in agreement with anything. No. But then if you feel in a certain way, at least try to find out, why am I feeling this way? So maybe it might be difficult to really understand or, get to the bottom of that question at first. But if you make it a practice of every time you feel a certain way or a certain kind of restlessness, and then you sit with that question, try to find out. Restlessness has a way of revealing things. what is it revealing about me, or what is it revealing about what God is trying to do with my life? You might, get your, not just getting rid of the feeling or getting rid of the experience, but you might end up, having answers that they cannot be, found if you ignore or try to get rid of that experience. So I hope that this answers your question. Alright guys, so this is what I had for you today. Only the 3 questions that I got from you guys. I think it's beautiful that you're getting back to me with your questions, with your concerns and whatever. So I hope you grabbed 1 or 2 things from what we talked about. And I think I'll see you in the next episode. For the meantime, keep it #Arise Network, keep it #Arise Insights.